Alright YouTubes, how are we all doing? Hope you're all well. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is we're gonna do a bit of repairing in this video. Obviously repairing and painting, so probably be split into two, but I can't guarantee how the video is going to come out yet as normal. So the vehicle I'm working on today is a really nice Volkswagen Golf R, really nice blue, and we've got this wheel arch to repair and blend the door. So feature line's cuffed in a fair bit, and obviously it's crowned above it, and this lip looks as though it's flattened off a little bit. So yeah, bit of a repair to do there, and then obviously prep it and paint it, and we'll be blending the colour into that rear door. So yeah, a few little various ways you could tackle this dent. One way I did want to tackle it, which I'm a little bit disappointed about. I've bought a one of those pulling towers, so a GYS pulling tower, and it would have been ideal to try it on this. I've been sort of hanging off some jobs waiting for it to come in, but it hasn't come in and I can't wait any longer, so I'm just gonna have to do it without it. I've always managed without it, so it won't be a problem. But yeah, it would have been a nice one to try on this job, to pull on that arch. So yeah, I'll just use the wiggle wire, the wiggly wire on that feature line, get that into tension, and then start dressing that top. But that pulling tower is a good aid, you know, to get tension on stuff if you'd want to start, you know, hitting around the repair. It's good for that. I've got like the pads with the puller, and they're good, but you're a bit restricted for space and that with them. Normally I use Reese as my pulling tower. He's what I've used in the past as a pulling tower. He gets it under tension and then I can start whacking it. So yeah, I may have to use my old pulling tower Reese for this one. But yeah, I'll get it all cleaned up, get all the paint cleaned off of it, and start repairing it.
Right then, YouTubes. Start this job off, just cleaning it all off with a green roll-up wheel, and using the wiggly wire to get on that feature line. So that's where I start on this dent repair. Start at the lowest point of impact, get a little bit of heat into it, help manipulate it, and yeah, there's various ways you could do this. You can pull it, or you can shock it out, as I'm doing with that claw slide hammer. Like I said in the intro, I'd like to have used the pulling tower that I had on order, but I just couldn't wait any longer. I had to get on with this job. So yeah, manipulated out that feature line. It came out well, and tapped out all the crown, and now I'm just straightening that edge a little bit. It wasn't too bad. It just moved in a little bit. Again, there's various ways you could manipulate that arch out at the bottom. I like using the heavy sort of rubber mallet, and yeah, blocks of wood help to cushion the impact, to spread the load of the impact a little bit as well. And yeah, just below the feature line, it's a little bit low, so just getting up as much as the metal as possible, really, to minimise the amount of filler that goes in there. There's always a fine line between it being a little bit high, and yeah, a little bit too low. It's quite hard to get that balance sometimes, but ideally, if anything, you want it a little bit lower, because you're never going to sort of feather out a high spot. So that's all the metal work done on that repair. And I've just moved on to prepping it for some filler to go in there. So I'm just scuffing around that with 120 grit to feather out all the grinding marks, and feather out all the paint around it, to get it ready for some filler to go in there. There's always a debate putting filler on bare metal or putting it on epoxy. 9 times out of 10, I'd put it on bare metal if there's no corrosion or anything like that there, and it's done straight away. If I've bare metaled something and I'm not putting the filler on it straight away, I will put epoxy on there. And obviously, if there's if there's any sign of corrosion anywhere in that bare metal, on any of that bare metal, and put a filler on, I will put epoxy on it then as well. But yeah, a lot of the time, if it's been ground off and I'm doing it there and then, it's fine to put filler on top of bare metal. There's not an issue with it. I've never in my career had a job come back where it's had filler over bare metal. The only time there would be ever any comebacks, if there was corrosion issues, you know, rust issues beforehand. So yeah. So first skim of that was Rage Gold filler, and I thought I got the repair. It felt good in one skim, so I went for refining the scratches. So that gold I normally knock down with 80 grit first to take the bulk off. I sand off the top surface with a DA sometimes, and then yeah, and just refining those scratches into 180 scratches, ready for primer. But sometimes if you don't leave enough meat on the bone, if you don't leave a little bit of extra filler on there, you know, if you get your shape in the coarser scratch, when you go to refine it, you're going to take out that little bit of extra filler, and you could lose your shape. And that happened on this. I got there with it, refined the scratches, thought it was there, and it didn't feel as good as I wanted it to feel. So I give it a skim. It's so minimal. I give it a skim of the Rage Ultra on top of it. Quite often I like to stick with the same filler from start to finish if I can. You can use that Rage Ultra as almost like a finishing filler as well, but it will do bigger dents than just like a finishing filler. So it is a bit more multi-purpose, and just give it a thin, tight skim really, just to take out those imperfections that were still there. A couple of sort of breakthroughs really that felt didn't feel quite right. It sort of lost its shape a little bit. So I sanded that off with 120 grit to start off with, and then I'm refinishing that, so finishing off them scratches, guide coated it again, and getting all those 120 scratches out with 220 grit and leaving it at that. Going around feathering out all the scratches around the repair, feathering all that out with a 240 grit on the DA, and just getting it ready for primer. I normally, if I've got time, I will get the whole job prepped for paint and then do the primer, so then it's just a case of knocking off the primer and it's ready to go in the booth. But this was end of the day, and wanted to get indoors, get finished, didn't want to work too late, so just for speed really, so we could get finished that day. I've just done a bit of preparation around it, so once all the scratches were refined, just a bit of a soft pad with 500 grit just to key up the around the repair for the primer overspray to sit on.
Yeah, you're better off just when you just fold up a little piece of paper, like when you do it, just fold it up so you've just got a little bit, and then you can just massage it in, because you've got it spreads over the whole tissue otherwise. You know what I mean? There's some towel somewhere. I don't know if it fills in them. I can only do a certain amount, can't it, surely? Because then you just use little dots on that surface, and just because tissue soaks it up. You're supposed to buy the applicators, you know, like that sponge thing on that guide coat. Pack of them, they're like 30 quid. You use them once. You might even want to do a little patch. Not buying the applicators. Clear the edge. I can leave this on, can I? Just there.
Yeah.
Just shut the door.
Back in stuff for that, huh? Always back nice, come back and shut the door.
Yeah, that's true.
a big hard edge on that.
Well, it'll have the hard edge on there anyway, won't it? Yeah, good idea. Let's change this one, it's a bit over. Got scotch out there. On the roof, isn't it? That one would be alright, wouldn't it? So we need to just go a little bit in. Oh, we're going to release it anyway, aren't we? Use that bigger one that you use. What do you think?
Also paper.
Yeah.
So just getting it masked up now for some primer. Give it a little smear of pore filler, which I do on, trying to do on every repair now, so it really helps with the amount of primer you use and the primer sitting on there. I was just talking to Reese about applying the pore filler. There are special applicators for it, but they're really expensive, and it works alright with a bit of tissue. I just find that if you use a big bit of tissue across it, the tissue soaks up a lot of the pore filler instead of it going on the panel. So yeah, that's it. It's all repaired, and just getting it in primer now. So Mipa 4+1 primer, the high build mixing ratio, and it's I give it 3.5 coats. So that first coat's sort of not a full wet coat, just so it breakthroughs levels of paint. Sometimes if you bung a big wet heavy coat on as your first coat, it can just pick up all around the edges of the transition of filler and paint work all being feathered out. It picks up those edges. So yeah, try and put a lighter coat on for the first one, and then 3 good ones. That's normally what I put on all my repairs. Be that amount of primer, and I do like to put a good coat of primer on there. But yeah, make sure you cure it off properly, really, because you can't find, if you put too much primer on there, it will help with your shape and your levels, but there's a risk of it sinking back where there's a bit too much product on there. So that's it for this video. Next video, I'll show the painting stage of this job, the prepping and the painting. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and look after yourselves, and we'll see you again soon.